What's up, man? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Had a good time last night with you guys on the live stream, the live coverage of the fight. It was a very, very good fight. I enjoyed the fight. I had a few people complaining, thinking it was like, boring or sparring and stuff. I totally disagree with that. You know, we saw two very, very hard hitters go at it. Two very durable fighters. I mean, Danny to me is pound for pound, like the most durable fighter in the sport. One of the most durable fighter in the sport. I've always said that about him. Spence showed us that he is durable and he's fine. He took some really really big punches, really big shots from Danny last night. All right, and kept coming forward. So he's cleared. He's good to go. I mean, he proved that. I wanted to make an actual review of the fight. All right. This is not about Terrence Crawford. This is just a review of the actual fight. But Spence proved last night that he's good post accident. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was it actually went exactly the way I expected it to go. Danny is a good boxer. He is a top welterweight, but it's just levels. He had close fights with Thurman, had close fights with Porter, but I knew Errol was going to beat him better than those guys did. Any other fight at 140, any other fight he struggled with at 140, Mauricio Herrera, Lamont Peterson, any fight that anyone's ever said that Danny didn't look good in, or Danny possibly lost, or he lost, or whatever, Spence was going to make it clear, and he did. I predicted a 9-3, 9 rounds to 3 for Spence, if Spence was still himself, But like I said, going into the fight, Spence was going to be extremely motivated because of what happened to him last year. And, I mean, you got to remember, he caught a lot of slander for what happened. It's amazing that he lived from it and is able to box at this level from that kind of car accident, but he did catch a lot of slander because of the circumstances. So, congratulations to him for bouncing back and picking up a good win, a dangerous fight against Danny, because Danny looked good. Danny looked good in the weigh-in. Danny looked good in the fight. No matter how much pressure Spence put on him, Danny didn't back down. All right, I think Spence even put more pressure on Danny last night than he did against Mikey, who was the smaller fighter. All right, I mean, Spence was beating Mikey, but he didn't attack Mikey like the way he did Danny. He attacked Danny like in a way where he like as if he didn't like him, like he did something personal to him. Spence didn't let his foot off the gas. Now, a couple of the rounds that I gave Danny, I believe it was the 9th and 10th round. I think those rounds Spence started to slow down a bit. Okay, so he would fight in spurts later on, because I mean, even if you're fighting at a high work rate like that, you have to take breaks at some point, which is realistic here. Like, you're not going to be like a Terminator just coming forward and throwing a lot of punches throughout the entire round. You got to take breaks. And I think those were times, those periods where Danny got off his shots, and we saw a large variety of shots from both sides. I mean, they both attacked the body. They both countered well. We saw a lot of things. I think the problem with Danny is that he never really was coming forward. And I think Danny is a better fighter. Like, he's coming on his front foot, front foot heavy and sitting down on everything. Danny, from the opening bell, was forced to go backwards. Spence had a really, really fast start. The second round was more competitive. That was the one round that I thought was a swing round for me. And I think there was 3 other rounds where I gave Danny a clear win for me. But as far as that second round, I think that was the only like debatable round. I mean, you could go with Spence, you could go to Danny. I think 9-3 was fair, 8-4 was fair. The way I see it, I don't think it was any closer to 8-4 though, or 9-3. Somewhere around there. Never seen Danny take so much punishment. But he seems to be all right. Dude got a hard head. But Spence took a lot of hits too, a lot of big hits. Very, very impressive performance. He didn't lose a step at all. Can we all agree that he didn't lose a step at all? It was a great performance, and it's another performance that proves my point this whole time. He's clearly elite here. He's clearly got the best welterweight. As far as the active fighter, like the active top fighters, he has the best welterweight resume. We all know that Pacquiao has a better resume as far as all time, as far as his whole career just as a welterweight. But I'm talking about as far as the active fighters, Spence has the best resume as far as the active current top welterweights. Spence has Danny, Porter, and Brooke wins over the three of them under his resume. He beat an undefeated Mikey Garcia who came up, which is a big win as far as a name is concerned. Huge name, not the most credible win, but as far as having a name like that, especially an undefeated fighter, is still a big win. So he definitely does have the best welterweight resume to me, and I think it's clear. Regardless of how I feel about Bud and why this fight isn't happening, and my feelings towards that, I can't deny that Spence has the best welterweight resume, and he had the best one before this fight to me. As far as that the current fighters. But yeah, I mean, good performance, man. I mean, that's what I like to see. I mean, that's his style. His style is to outwork you. He can box. He can box well. He can fall back and just work behind his jab and, set up the shots. But he likes to dog fighters out. He likes to go. That fight last night was classic Errol Spence. Like when he was coming up fighting Bundus of the world and Keith Van Herdens and who else he fight? He fought, all those guys that he was fighting coming up. Chris Algieri, all those guys that he was fighting, that was Spence, like coming up, just walking guys down, beating them up, So where does he go from here? I already expressed how I felt about Terrence Bud Crawford. I see the one response that people that are defending him at this point about that fight is that Bud recently said that the fight is not important to him. Okay, this is over the whole 60-40 controversy, where it started with Spence and then Bud responded with the whole 60-40 with the thing saying that he deserves 60-40. But outside of him making that most recent comment, and I think that's what everybody's going to run with, you guys got to remember, from 140, like I told you, from 140 moving up, Bud had interest in the fight then, and it was about him proving himself as a welterweight, winning the title, which he did. Then it became about, once he did that, it became about Bud being on the wrong side of the street. All right? That's what, and these are things that Spence say. I don't have to fanboy it. This is what Spence says out of his own mouth. You're on the wrong side of the street. Then when they were face to face, again, take the easy route, fight Sean Porter. Like, these are continuous things that's said over a long period of time. This is not one comment. This is continuous disinterest in a fight. You don't say these things when you are interested in fighting someone, especially when you say it's draft season, especially when you say you want to be undisputed and then move up to 154. When you make these comments, it shows that you don't have interest in the fight. He said he doesn't have interest in the fight, but he respects Bud as a fighter. He respects Bud because he thinks Bud is pound for pound. He has him up there. He doesn't have all of these fighters, other fighters up there. He doesn't even have Pacquiao in his top 5 pound for pound. He doesn't have all of these other welterweights in his pound for pound. He doesn't have any guys at 154 in his pound for pound. He could have just said Jamel Charlo is pound for pound. No, he said Bud Crawford. My rant is based on the fans, you guys, because the fight is not happening because of you. You guys are defending Spence for not having interest in fighting him. It's the biggest fight in boxing right now. You know, if you're not including Wilder, Fury, and AJ, if you don't include those three, Spence versus Crawford is the biggest fight in boxing. Anyone that has any kind of boxing knowledge or have interest in it, even on a casual level, knows that these two are the biggest fight. This is the most talked about fight. And you guys are going to run with this. Bud said it's not important to him, even though the guy flew out there to watch him fight live. He's been calling Spence out for years. When has Spence ever said, I want to fight Bud next? Find me that video. All I've heard from Spence is disinterest in a Terrence Crawford fight. I don't even need to go to the PBC, removing Bud out of the equation. I don't even need to go to that because I could just go directly to the source. Spence says it constantly, over and over, that he just doesn't have interest in Terrence Crawford. Even though he respects him at the highest level and he's in the same division. Like, what more do y'all need? If you guys want to keep rocking with this whole, he said he wasn't important to him 2 weeks ago. If you guys want to rock out with that, fine. Even though the guy's been calling him out for years, stepping to him, going to his fights now. I don't know what else you guys need, man. But as far as other options, they obviously would fight Pacquiao before fighting each other. Bud and Spence wants the Pacquiao fight. I just can't see it. And this is not me hating on Pac. I just can't see him fighting one of those two right now. At his age and just being inactive. I mean, we're going into 2021. He hasn't fought since like June of 2020 or 2019. I can't see him fighting one of those two. It's just too dangerous for him. I'm talking about long. As the fight continues, I can't see it. Like I said on the live commentary I did, I can see Pacquiao fighting like Mikey, or Conor McGregor. Like fights that are good for him. They're good names, but not as dangerous. You know what I'm saying? He could have fought Crawford when he was with Top Rank. He could have fought him back then. He could have fought Spence coming off this accident. He could have fought Spence. I don't think Pacquiao could beat either one of them right now, though. If I'm being honest, if the fight were to go down, I predicted Pacquiao to beat Thurman when they fought. But I think both Crawford and Spence are better fighters than Thurman. Ever was to me, and it is what it is. I know Thurman at that time, even back then, was more proven than Spence at the time. But when I looked at it stylistically, I would have picked Spence if they were to fight, even back then. You know, I just wasn't on the Keith Thurman was ducking Spence bandwagon because Keith was still fighting elite welterweights. You know, but I don't think the Keith Thurman fight is interesting. I know Keith is calling out Spence heavy now. Spence shouldn't even fight him. You know, he doesn't really need to. He doesn't really need Keith Thurman, and I think Keith Thurman at this point is looking to cash out. He lost his O, and I don't think he's nearly as interesting right now. You know, Keith taking 2 years off, having surgery, struggling against Josecito Lopez, and losing the Pac doesn't equal a Spence fight right now. Now, if he was to fight him, cool. Like, all right, that's who you want to fight. Thurman still has a good resume. He still only has one loss, but not as big of a fight right now. And I don't think Thurman is actually one of the. I think Danny was a more dangerous fight. I thought Kell Brook was still a more dangerous fight, even coming off the Triple G loss at that time. And I thought Porter was a much more dangerous fight right now. I think Danny and Porter might beat Thurman today, you know? Just right now. You know, Thurman got to show us something. And taking these long layoffs is not good for him. You know, I know he's not as old as Pacquiao, but he's been taking long layoffs, you know? I'm trying to think of other people there. You know, Sean Porter rematch is possible. Sean Porter's right back in the top of the WBC rankings. You know how those WBC rankings work. You know, you lose, win a random fight, and you're right back at the top. Not saying Sean shouldn't be, because Sean is one of the most credible welterweights out there. Whether or not you like his style, he's literally been in there with so many different people. You know, so I think a rematch would be cool if they were to rematch. It would be cool. I think I would take a Porter rematch over a Thurman fight for the first time. You know, you got Ugas out there. I think Ugas is pushing to get the WBA strap. I don't know what Pacquiao's gonna do, but if Ugas gets the title. That would be a good fight too. Respectable win. If Errol is to secure that fight, I expect Errol to win. But I think Ugas fits perfectly at 147. You know, I've been watching him, and he definitely is at his peak right now. So it's a good time to fight him. Ugas is a very, very good counterpuncher. So he definitely brings some issues to Spence. Plus, he's a big guy too, you know. So I don't think Spence can just completely bully him. But that would be an entertaining fight. But I would pick Spence to win that. Ugas is a good counterpuncher, though, for real. Like, very, very good. Very, very good. He gave Porter a lot of issues. All right. I'm trying to think of who's else. You know, you got the young dudes coming up. You got Virgil Ortiz. I don't want to see him fight Spence right now. I think he's actually closer to being like the mandatory for Bud's title. Then you also got Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. The winner of that fight probably going to go up too. So I don't know what's going to happen with all that. But I'm trying to think of everybody. I'm like trying to go around. There's so many options. But I think the Virgil Ortiz fight could be a really big fight. Maybe not this year coming up, but maybe the following year, depending where Spence is at. But Spence is probably going to move up to 154 soon. You know, but if he moves to 154, it's not like him and Jamel's going to chop. Like him and Jamel's not fighting each other. So That's why I kind of hope he can still remain at 147, only because I want Jamel to, like, I want Spence to move up, but I want Jamel to move up first. You know what I'm saying? If Spence moves up, I want Jamel to try to be undisputed first, and then hopefully we could get that this year somehow, some way, maybe in the end of 2021, and then Spence could go up and do his thing, because they're not gonna fight each other. You know what I'm saying? And Jamel can move up to 160 at one point, at some point. As far as Danny Garcia, all those names are good for him. Keith Thurman rematch, coming off of a loss. Keith Thurman rematch would be cool. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Ugas, all of these names would be good for Danny. I don't expect Danny to get into an elite level fighter right away. Like, maybe not coming off of this loss, but after picking up a good win next, we'll see, what he can do, because he still has a name and there's still people that were willing to fight Danny. So he has a lot of options as well. All right. But I don't expect him to jump into anything crazy coming off of that loss. All right. And it's not like, even with the loss, it's not like he's not in his prime. He still fought a good fight. So he doesn't need to, step down too much. I mean, he got to still keep pushing and fighting at a high level. He needs to. Don't let your foot off the gas. Take some time off, but get back in there, because you still have a name and people are still going to be willing to fight you. You lost, but it's still, you can do a rematch with one of the other two you had a close fight with. I don't know if Bud is going to come over to the PBC, but if Bud and Spence doesn't work out, that's a fight that Bud might be interested in taking. We'll see. Anyway, I think I covered everything here. Spence and all of his options. Again, very, very good, top-notch performance. Spence and Crawford are the two best welterweights to me, and this is why I want them to fight so bad. So bad. But I don't think it's going to happen, man. We'll see. We'll see. All right? And hopefully when it does happen, hopefully it's not a couple years from now when Bud is not quite in his prime, because he's 35, 36, 37, whatever he's going to be. All right. Hopefully he's not too old by the time the fight does go down. All right. Peace.